Camp Winnie.
Hello to everybody out there. So we decided to do something a little bit different this time. We are still going to continue with our videos on our locations where we go to, as Shannon's getting a real kick out of doing those ones, and we as a family enjoy seeing where we get to go and to share it with everybody. This video is for people who are planning on their trip around Oz. Obviously, once COVID lockdowns allow people to travel again, at the moment people have a lot of time on their hands to plan and look forward to their trip ahead. So if I had have had something that I could have looked up or watched on YouTube, just some basic tips and trips on how to travel this beautiful country, I certainly would have watched it. So I'm hoping that some of you will tune in and at least pick up, even if it's just one or two tips that will help you on your future travels. So the first one, number one, obviously you need to do is you need to select a camper, caravan, motorhome that suits your needs and budgets. For us, dollars was a big play factor in ours, and we couldn't afford to buy a new caravan or car setup or motorhome for that fact. So we actually purchased a used motorhome, quite an old motorhome. Ours is about 25 years old, around that age, and Shannon actually did it up. So we purchased the motorhome for a cheaper cost, but then we did have to outlay a certain amount of money to restore it to what it is today. But for us, we needed bunks. We've got 2 kids and we needed bunks. So yes, once we restored ours, we were able to hit the road with our 2 kids. Once you've sorted out your van, camper or motorhome, I believe that you should set it up for free camping. Depending on your time frame will depend on how many places you can actually visit. There's just so much to see and do. And for us, when we left home, all I wanted to do was stay in caravan parks, that's got shower blocks, toilets, jumping pillows, swimming pools, playgrounds for the kids to play in. That was our first week on the road. And in our first week on the road, all of it was free camping, other than one night was a caravan park. In the first several weeks, even into the first couple of months, each week we would stay in at least one caravan park. Now, 6 months into our trip, we're in a caravan park at the moment, and this is the first one we've been in for 3 weeks. So now we're doing caravan parks less and less. So if you can set up your motorhome or your caravan for free camping, that's the way to go. What I mean by free camping is not needing power or water. So you would need to ensure that you've got enough water on board in your tanks, that you are set up with solar and lithium batteries and chargers, so that you don't need to hook up to a power point. Traveling with kids and pets. I'll start off with kids first. We have 2 children. Jess, she's 14, and Chloe is 7. I mentioned earlier that we have bunks, and so they have their own separate bed. We're all in one room, but they have their separate bed. They don't have to sleep with each other. I would recommend separate beds. Kids that sleep together fight. Whoever goes to bed first won't go to sleep unless the second one's in bed. So much easier for separate beds. So that's my advice. Make sure that your setup has kids in separate beds. Pets. We have taken a beautiful Burmese cat, Bonnie, on the road with us, and we've actually got a dedicated room for her toilet, for her litter tray, and it has a cat flap, and we can service her little litter area from the inside of our van or from the outside of the van. So much easier to do it from outside of the van because it's at waist height. Inside of the van, I do have to get down onto my knees, but hey, it's fantastic. We can't smell it with the type of litter we use. Thoroughly recommend taking your pet with you. It just makes our motorhome feel very homely. She's fabulous, especially at night time when she gets to snuggle in amongst us all. She's no problems when we leave her for the day. We just crack open the hatches or some windows and she's happy. She sleeps most of the time anyway. And it's so nice, and so it makes everybody happy in the van that we've got our little pet from home. Certainly recommend it. Homeschooling, distance education or unschooling. I procrastinated about this, I think, the most out of anything in the lead up to us leaving and in our planning and preparation. I had no idea. I read reviews, I searched for somebody to tell me the right answer. And the thing is, there is no right answer. You do what is right for you and for your family and for your setup. So I looked at the fors and against for homeschooling or distance education, and we decided to go with homeschooling, but it differs from what state you're in. State to state, it's different. So unfortunately, you will have, I can't tell you what's the best way for you to do it, but you would have to search up what's the best in your state, what's the best way to go about it. But there are fantastic forums and websites that I can put you in touch with that give advice for your particular state, and that is what helped me get through. We homeschool, we do schoolwork Doesn't matter what day of the week is. We do it 3 or 4 days on average each week in a school term. We might spend a couple of hours in the morning with Jess, and then I'll spend a couple of hours with Chloe for 3 days, maybe 4 days, depending on the quantity of work we get done. Sometimes we do this in the morning, sometimes we've done it in the afternoon, and the odd times we've done it at night time. What works best for us is in the morning, straight away, straight after breakfast. They've got full bellies, they can concentrate, and they'd much rather get it over and done with before we actually hit the road. So a lot of campers actually get up early and leave their site 9, 9:30, some 10 in the mornings to get to their next site earlier. For us, on average, we usually leave our camp spot somewhere between 10 and 11, and then that way it gives us a chance to get schooling out over and done with before we actually hit the road. Then we can spend the rest of the day sightseeing or traveling. What apps to use? There's many apps. Wikicamps, Polar Steps. There's a lot of different travel apps that will track your distance. Wikicamps. I use Wikicamps a lot. It's my main app I use, and I spend a lot of time on it. Yes, you outlay a small fee at the start. I think I paid around $8 on my Apple phone. Any location you go to, it'll show you what caravan parks are available and all their contact details, what free camps are available, how to get directions to those sites. People can leave reviews. They can attach photographs. You can find out where you can get clean drinking water. You can find out where you can find the local dump point to empty a toilet cassette. It's just so handy. And I also track where we've been. So I have a map and I can show the kids and Shannon exactly where it is that we've been. And then it's a good reference to look back on if we want to give advice to anybody or if we should continue traveling. Another app that I swear by is Fuel. I think it's called Fuel App Australia, but it's certainly Fuel Australia. And it shows you where all the petrol stations are, and it will show you the current prices of what diesel or unleaded or whatever your vehicle takes. For us, it's diesel. So we can actually, as we're approaching a town or if we're several kilometers from needing fuel, I can have a look at the app and see how far it is and how much it is. So that will determine whether we, might save $5, $10, $15 if we've got to fill up the tank from going from one town to another. If you can push it through to the next town and save some money when you need to fill up your tank, Fuel App Australia is the way to go. Social media apps, we use Instagram for photographs, Facebook for photographs and videos as well, and mainly YouTube for all of our videos that you'll see on this particular site. Laundry. Okay, so because we do a lot of free camping, laundry is a pain in the backside. So we have a 20-litre bucket. It's a white bucket with a lid that Shannon's drilled a hole in, say yay big, into the top of the lid, and we use a toilet plunger. The other day, we filled the bucket 1/2 to 3/4 with water, put some wool wash laundry liquid in it, put all the clothes in it, and it sloshed around while we were driving. Gave it a good pump to start off with to help the clothes, and then it just sloshed around while we're in transit. There's no need to rinse out the clothes because it doesn't suds up and it cleans your clothes, and it's fantastic. Laundromats, we use laundromats quite a lot. The most expensive laundromat we've used is in Alice Springs so far. It was between $8 and $10 per load to wash our clothes, and then the dryer on top of that. Also with laundry, make sure when you pull through a town you collect a lot of $1 and $2 coins. All the laundromats take $1 and $2 coins. Caravan parks, $1 and $2 coins. Some are starting to take credit card, and you can use your card on your phone, and that's fantastic. It just makes it so much easier, and you don't need to carry coins with you, but it's so handy. One little tip I have for obtaining such coins: car washes. So when we go in through a car wash, you can put notes in and it spits you out coins to enter in the car wash. I only go to those places when we are using the car wash ourselves. However, I always put in a couple of extra notes and pull out a few extra coins, and I take them with me. So whether that's something I should be telling everybody or not, I don't know, but that's what we do. Rubbish. Man, we have the best country in the world. We have such a vast area of vacant land, beautiful, beautiful land, different picturesque scenery, mountains, cliff tops, gorges, you name it. And let me tell you, one of the most disappointing things that we've noticed in our travels is the amount of rubbish that people leave behind. It started off for us really going across the Nullarbor when we were going from South Australia to Western Australia. We noticed how much rubbish was along the Nullarbor, mainly plastic bottles and rubbish. It's just ridiculous. The reason it's ridiculous is there's so many rubbish bins that are placed around by the local councils everywhere. So there's no excuse, none whatsoever. I don't care what the reason is for leaving it behind. There is no excuse for leaving the rubbish. We create quite a fair bit of rubbish between the four of us from day to day, and we always ensure that our rubbish goes in the bin. If there's no rubbish bins where you're staying, take it with you, for goodness sake. There's always a truck stop several kilometres up the road, always with auto bins that you can put your rubbish into. There's no reason that you need to leave your rubbish behind. The amount of nappy wipes, bottles, tins, just paper, it's just disgusting. Meals on the road. We could do a whole complete separate segment on meals on the road. One of the biggest tips I can say, just straight off the top, is bread versus wraps. Bread, we like bread in this house, in this motorhome. We do like bread, but not all the time and not every day. By the time we get to it, it's usually moldy. We have a freezer, but it's not huge, so I can't freeze a lot of bread. I can do a couple of slices here or there, squished in between some sausages and steaks. However, the bread tends to go moldy before we can eat it most of the time. So what we do is wraps. They store in our microwave actually during transit, and we buy up to 6 packets at a time because the expiry date is 1 to 2 months on them. So it's much easier. We carry enough salad and ham that we can make salad and ham wraps most days of the week, and we've always got it without the fear of it being moldy or we can't eat. Which direction should you travel around this beautiful country? Well, you can go clockwise or anti-clockwise. You can go up through the middle, across, zigzag. We chose to go clockwise. I will insert a map here that will show where you should be depending on what season it is. You've got to remember, at the top end of Australia, it is damn hot, even in the middle of winter. So at the moment, it's just gone September. We have been in the top end of WA since May, June, all of July and the start of August in the Northern Territory, and now we're in outback Queensland. These are the winter months up here, and look how we're dressed. It's hot. Some of the days have been that stinking hot, especially from Catherine up to Darwin. This time of year, it is still hot. So you want to try and avoid the hot places in summertime. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to go out. It's going to be unpleasant, and a lot of the attractions are closed. So you want to be down south in the summer, and you want to be up north in the winter. That's the best way. It's not the only way. Obviously, you can only take time off when you can get time off, and you go wherever your time permits you to go. However, if you've got the choice, have a look at this map. It's just a guide. We read it at the time before we left home and wanted to try and stick to it, and it did say at the time that it doesn't matter if you're a few weeks before or after, but generally if you stick to this plan, then you'll be right. Your own time and your own space. Oh my goodness, we are 6 months into our trip and I am still struggling with this. Everybody needs their own space and their own time. I can only suggest to you enough to go out for a walk for an hour. It's hard sometimes. Sometimes you're on a roadside camp and there's nowhere to go and it's blowing a gale, or it's just terrible weather outside and there's nowhere other than the main highway. So sometimes you just have to put on your shoes and go for a walk. Even if you can't go for a walk, just to go outside and sit in the fresh air and read a book or phone one of your family or your friends, just relax outside. I'm still struggling with this. All of us are at times, and I can't emphasize enough that we all need our own time and our own space. So if you can make sure that you can do that, then your travels will be a lot more pleasant. Medications and post. Medications, oh my goodness, I have had some dramas and some stress along the way with trying to get scripts filled. I needed a script from my doctor. She emailed it to me. I thought I'd have no dramas going into any chemist and getting that script. Well, I was wrong. Went into a chemist and I could get the first one filled. However, they would not give me any repeats. Anyway, the advice I have for you is ask your doctor before you leave, do they have e-scripts? I've only just learned about these things, and apparently they send you a text message to your phone, it sends you a QR code, you go in, if you've got 5 repeats, you scan it, boom, drops it down to you've now got 4 left. I've just discovered e-scripts, way to go. The post. Australia Post, pretty damn good. We've had no real issues with Australia Post at all. What we do is if we buy something online or order something online, I'll have a look at the map and roughly see where we're going to be in 3-4 weeks time and get it sent to the post office there. So what I do is it's care of my name at that particular post office with their street address. You'll get a message saying they'll hold it for 14 days, but they actually have signs in the post office saying they'll hold it for you for 30 days. I'm sure if you were to ring them, if you were a bit off track and not going to get there in time, that they will either hang on to it or then they can on-forward it for you. With the Australia Post app, a lot of the parcels that get sent to you, you can actually intercept it and get it redirected somewhere else. If you don't think you're going to make it there, you can actually do that yourself through the app. However, I think it might add a day or two to the actual post. So receiving mail on the road is quite easy, so it's no great drama at all. Mobile phone and internet service. The only way to go is Telstra. End of conversation. Okay, so that's my tips if you're planning a trip to go around Australia. I know a lot of people have a a lot of questions that they want to have answered before they leave, and a lot of people are nervous about making that big decision to leave. If you would like me to elaborate on any of those things that I've mentioned, please let me know in the comments. And what I'll do is, if I get enough comments, I might just do a video on that particular thing, whether it be traveling with kids or traveling with pets. Let me know, please. I'm curious to see if there's anyone out there that's actually interested, and we'll see what I'll come up with in another video. So we'll do these videos in between the big ones that Shannon does on our locations, and we'll see how we go with that. Hooroo!